Hello, everyone. It has been a minute since I last talked to you. It's kind of crazy. It feels like it's been a whole week for some of you, and for others, it feels like it's been way longer because some of you are not listening to the podcast when it comes out. I see you guys. I'm looking at my statistics. I'm just kidding. Um, so today we're going to be talking about what is art. Have you ever wondered that? What is art? Now, when I hear the word art, my brain immediately goes to paintings or drawings or something along the lines of this is on a piece of paper and somebody took these raw ingredients, whether it be graphite or paint, and then they created an image. They depicted a scene or an object or whatever it was that they wanted to portray, and then they portrayed it in the form of an image. But I think we all know art does go a little bit deeper than that. Music is a very common one that comes up right after that. There's some music like from Beethoven or from Bach that's like universally considered beautiful artistic works of music. And then even more modern stuff, a lot of people are talking about different music as art because it portrays a story or it does something really creative. And those things are art. Everything can be considered art in a sense. So I want to just let's go ahead and pull up the dictionary definition of art to start us off here. The definition of art is the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form such as painting or sculpture, producing works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power. So even there, they say typically this is thought of as something like a painting. And they even said a sculpture, which is a whole area of art that I have not ever had interest in, but it's awesome that it exists. And I'm sure there's people who love to express themselves by doing things like carving horses out of a block of wood. Or I know back in the olden times, there's a lot of marble statues of different people that were very well respected, stuff like that. Sculpturing is also, I guess, sculpting. Sculpting is also a form of art. Everything that falls under the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, primarily for their beauty or emotional power, can be considered art. Now, I'm going to go into an article pretty quickly here, and that article will also be listed in the show notes. You guys know the article is in the show notes. Please listen. Go to the show notes to listen to the article. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead before I talk about that article and read the article. I want to admit something to you. Now, this might come as a shock to some of you. Some people are going to hear this and they're going to be angry. They're going to be furious. I'm sure I'm going to lose a lot of friends over what I'm about to say, but I have to say it. I consider my content to be art. Now, I'm not saying it's good art, but it is art. By the definition of art, I am expressing myself with my creative and imagination skills, specifically not necessarily for its beauty or emotional power, but my goal with my art is to either entertain somebody and kind of take them out of whatever is bringing them down that day, I guess. Or more specifically, with a lot of my YouTube videos, it's to make them laugh. It's to be funny. So the way that I see my videos, even if they're really stupid, and that's kind of the point, is I say, okay, so I have a thought in my head and that thought is making me happy. It's making me laugh. So I'm going to use my human creative skill and imagination to turn this into something that is not tangible, but is consumable. So I can send it to you and I can post it on YouTube and you can watch it and you can get a taste of what it was inside my brain. You can say, this was the joke and this was how well he portrayed it. Do I think it's funny? If you're the type of person who watches my videos, that probably means you have a similar sense of humor. So probably you say, yeah, I think your videos are funny. When I watch one of your videos, I usually smile, I usually laugh. Or if you're the type of person who's just really passive, you might just watch it and think it's funny without exhibiting any like actual way to tell. I'm like that. I don't really laugh at things. I can watch a video that's really funny for the most part and not laugh. And then at the end, I'm just like, That was the funniest fucking video I have ever seen. I know I do that sometimes. When it comes down to it, let's pull up the drawbridge and stop letting my thoughts run away like that. That's art. The way that I create things and I express myself through the form, the medium of video, I consider that art. Now, when I Googled art definition, I'm seeing things like famous artists. I see Vincent van Gogh, Claude Monet, Pablo Picasso, Rembrandt, Leonardo da Vinci. Those people are more talented than me. Those people create art that have been appreciated by way more people that have appreciated my art, and those people have put a lot more thought they put a lot more of themselves into their art than I do, and that's all right. I could say that, and I could say, wow, I need to become like them. But the thing about art is that there is no universal standard of quality. So I could say, yeah, Vincent van Gogh's painting is absolutely beautiful, and my YouTube video, um, I could get arrested for this, is nowhere near that in level of quality. And you would be right because one of them was a painting that took years, possibly. I don't really know how paintings work. One of them was a painting that took a bunch of time, and the other one was like I drove past a sign and thought, you wouldn't know it'd be funny is if I put a camera down and I ran over to a sign that said no standing and I stood there for like 10 seconds and then I ran back to the camera and I was scared and I said, "Oh no, I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have done it." And that's what I did. I decided that that would be a funny video, so I made that video and I put it out. But once again, there's two different, there's multiple different types of art. So my type of art was made so somebody could be confused for a little bit and say, wait, I don't get it. What is he doing? And then you probably get the joke at some point. And you're like, oh, okay, he's standing in front of a sign that says no standing. That's kind of dumb. And then my character runs to the camera absolutely frantic. And it's just kind of a confusing, wild ride of like, what the hell is going on when I'm watching this video? That's not what paintings are for. So my goal was different than his goal. And even though he is probably way better at achieving his goal than I am achieving at my goals, we can both be considered creators of art. So next time you see somebody like make a YouTube video, a podcast episode, maybe like The Basement, they make a lot of gaming videos. So next time you watch one of their videos, consider it art. I want you to really look at it and think, they created this content for a purpose. What was that purpose? That purpose was to entertain me, maybe make me laugh, maybe provide some connection where it's like, okay, I know these guys, they're releasing this gaming video. I've been following along the series, and just watching this kind of makes me feel peaceful, makes me feel like, yeah, this is good. This is where my life is right now. I'm watching them play this video game, and we're just hanging out, having a good time, and that's good. I want you to try to find the art in the next thing that you consume. So let's go ahead and hop into the article specifically. I have not read this yet. I just read the title, What is Art? And I thought I would like to go into this one blind since I already had enough to say going right into it. So this is a Danny the Two podcast first. I am going to be reading this article very, very blind. I can't see shit. What are that? I can't read any of the words because my eyes are closed. Idiot, dumbass. That's what I said when I was blind. I tricked you. Okay. That was not art. I apologize for that joke. All right. What is art? October 19, 2012 by Eric Lima. Art can mean so many things to someone, almost as if everyone were to have their own connotative meaning for it. The true definition of art is unclear due to the vast number of meanings of art. But seeing art from the perspective of a teenager going to high school in comparison to an adult can either be similar or different. Everyone has different views and opinions, but sometimes the views or opinions might just be the same or pretty similar to another. Not only is art seen in different ways, done in different ways, and felt in different ways, but it's also admired and valued in different ways. Art in general is just so vague that it can basically mean anything which we conceive as art, and that's what makes art beautiful and unique. All right, breaking out of the article, that's kind of similar to what I said, different words, but I think we're both expressing the same thought, which is just that art can be interpreted in different ways, it can be valued in different ways, and that's kind of what makes it art. That's the whole point. So that's good. So far, I agree with this article, and I'm not mad. But just keep listening. I might get really mad. Listen to the end of this podcast to see me possibly get really mad. The most basic and general meaning of what art is can be told as the creation of someone's creativity and or imagination, which can contain one's visions, expressions, and even emotions or feelings. However, in reality, art means so much more than that. It's not just the simple creation of something visual through one's imagination. Although this is true, art has much more meaningful meaning to it. That's a good way to put that. Why do you think people are so fond of it, even to go to the extremes of paying extraordinary amounts of money for painting? The Scream, for example, which was sold for $119 million, the most, oh, that was crazy. $1 million. I'm not gonna dwell on that. Sorry. The most anyone has paid for an art piece. Now, not only do we pay extremely high prices for art, but we go through complex conditions just to view it. For example, going all the way to the other side of the world in unpleasing circumstances such as intense heat or cold to see a painting or a sculpture. We are connected to art in some form of way which is simply unexplainable. That paragraph was boring, I'm sorry. Art is fascinating, special, magical, beautiful, educational, historical, and abstract at times. All the words mentioned describe what art is. It's whatever you want it to be. Like in the psychologist's office, they may show you some Rorschach ink blot paintings. I don't know if that's a word. If you're not reading the article, then it's Rorschach Rorschach slash inkblot. I know inkblot, that's an obvious one. Paintings where you may see something different from what someone else may see. It is the same for art. This doesn't have great punctuation. That's why I'm getting a little bit confused here. It's just however your imagination observes what you see. Art is a very vague word since it has so many different meanings. However, most of the meanings go beyond the point that art is just a visual outcome of an artist's work. They go on a more inner emotional scale. As I like to say, quote, in art, you can release your emotions out in a way that would be impossible with anything other than art, end quote. Ah, she has a really good voice. People actually bond to what art you've created, and I find that amazingly awesome. So that's the last semi-interesting paragraph in this article. This article didn't have as many hot takes as I was hoping they would have, but I agree with it. That's kind of a general understanding of art and kind of what I was saying. So instead of ending it right after that, I do have a couple more thoughts about art that I would like to talk about. So my sister is listening to this. Shout out to you if you're listening. I hope you're doing well. Anyway, she is a music teacher. She's working on bringing that up a little bit as far as actually implementing it in her life with students and stuff. But she is a music teacher. She teaches multiple children how to play instruments and I think to sing, maybe not. But she is a teacher of music. So she is fairly talented at music, if I do say so myself. I'm way better, but it's not a competition, but if it was, I'd win. So she practices creating art as well. What she does with most of her time, as far as I'm aware, is that she performs art that was already created and laid out by another artist. So an artist who composed a song decided to make some sheet music. And then my sister, who is an artist, she takes that sheet music and then she performs it on her own piano or on her own violin or something like that. So both people on this end of a spectrum are artists. One is more of a creator of art, and whether or not they perform it, they have sent it out into the world, and that art is being performed by another artist. That artist does not necessarily have to transform the art that they're inspired by, as long as they're not blatantly ripping it off. But whenever you're performing like sheet music or something like that, you are performing a piece of art that will mean a lot to you. And you are not sending it out to the world in the same way that I make a YouTube video and I send that out into the world. But you are playing a piano, you're playing a guitar, and whether you're doing that for yourself, for a loved one, or for a group of people, you are tossing art into the airwaves. So if I were to practice my guitar, it wouldn't be great. But if I keep going and I make up a good song that I really like, every time I play that song, I am practicing my art. So what my sister is doing when she's teaching kids, she is teaching kids how to be artists. She is saying, this is a tool. This instrument is a tool in which you can use to create or portray art. So here's a song. Do you like this song? Does it touch you? Does it make you feel something? Does it give you emotions? Yes, then you should pick it. You should play it. And you should have that song be a piece of art that means a lot to you? No, maybe let's find another one. Some kids like me, when I was growing up, I never really had a lot of interest in playing other people's songs. I was always more interested in creating my own. So I just did my best to create melodies and create lyrics. And that was how I wanted to express myself. So everybody who is involved in this scenario, the person who writes the sheet music, the person who plays it, the person who teaches it, the person who creates their own music that will never be transcribed into sheet music or anything, we're all creating and expressing art. And that's the point. That's kind of what life is about at this point. We don't have a lot of like humanity threatening issues going on right now. We've got two or three that are in the news at the exact moment, so kind of bad timing. But we're not at a point where the majority of the world needs to fight tooth and nail to survive. So, a lot of what we do to keep ourselves occupied and to continue to feel human is artistic things, things that we do and create, even if they're not necessarily practical, but they have a lot of value as far as the emotional and sentimental value. And that's what just keeps us going in life. That is the thing that makes us feel like we're doing something and we're contributing to the world and that we're happy. Consuming art is what most people do to be happy. Lots of people watch TV shows. Lots of TV shows are considered art. I would say all of them are technically considered art, whether they're good or not. And what most people do is they consume art passively to kind of bring them back up, to give them energy. So somebody sits down after a long day of work, they watch another episode of Breaking Bad or The Office, and then they feel better. They feel less tired because they had a chance to relax their body and their brain said, here is a piece of art to latch onto. Try to comprehend and understand this art. And that's what they do. Some people are more the types that create art. Other people are just the creative types that consume art, but you need both to survive. Artists could not survive if nobody were just consuming it. So those are my thoughts on art as a concept and reading an article that ended up being a lot more boring than I thought it was going to be, but I'll still link it in the show notes if you guys want to read it. So with that being said, I'd love to have you guys contribute to the conversation. As we discussed, art is something that many people interpret differently. Many people use it in different ways. So I want you to hit me up on the Discord and say, you didn't mention that my favorite piece of art is pornography. I just love watching pornography. It is the best art form, and I'm really ashamed that you didn't mention it. So if you are that person, hop on Discord and say, hey, why didn't you mention pornography? And then we can have a little fight and it'll be really cute. So go ahead and just hop on my Discord and we'll talk about porn for a couple hours. And then we'll go about our days until next Wednesday when I release another episode of the Danny the Two podcast. That's how things work around here. I thought we went over this. I went over this at the beginning. You know what? With that being said, that's a wrap.